Don't you tell my Nazi neighbor, don't you tell my Nazi neighbor, don't you tell my Nazi neighbor I'm a Jew. When I lived way up north, I got this painting job for this guy, and he had lived in this sort of a big Bavarian schloss he had fixed up there, like a perfect Bavarian. Turns out that he's got this little room in the basement, I'm curious. I'm not a thief, I'm just curious. And I find this little room down there, and it's got a Nazi flag on the wall. It's got a mannequin with a uniform for a colonel in the SS with that on top of it. And he's got the dagger on the altar kind of a thing, and a big picture of Hitler up on the wall. Yeah, well, okay. So I go back home to my place, and the drummer comes over, and we're practicing our rock and roll and stuff like that. And the drummer turns out his name's Jaime. We call him Jaime because he's a Jew, okay? Okay, so I tell him, hey, that guy used to be a colonel in the SS. Oh, yeah. So we're going ooh, we don't want to call the Israelis, Mossad. The Mossad would still be down there, knocking on his door, hey, are you this guy from the paperwork? The guys that are, Nazi chasers, they're still out there. They're still, the Mossad, they're quite active guys still. So we don't want to get that done. So they turn to me and say, Dave, what were you going to do? And I went well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to check out the rest of that house, with a fine-tooth comb, because he's probably got all this stolen art. When the Nazis ripped off France, they went through the Louvre, they got billions of dollars worth of paintings, right? Oh, and they all went someplace. Now, a colonel in the SS probably rolled one up, put it in his cowboy boot and strode over the border. Adolf, we got a couple of trainloads of all that art coming in from Paris. Oh, just back it into the bunker. No problem. Well, look at it. Came to Canada, and here he is in Canada. And you can't give out these paintings until the grandchildren. Children can't handle it, but the grandchildren. And then you get into the time thing, 20 years from now, they can be worth $50, $60 million a painting. All the Flemish might be.
5 paintings, including works by Picasso and Matisse, were stolen from the Museum of Modern Art in a raid in the early hours.
We're talking, hey, the possibilities are insane. So we planned on B&E in the guy's place. Okay, I guess it's not quite cricket. And then we decided against it. We were no, let's just leave the old guy alone. Yeah, okay, so we all decided, yeah, we'll leave the guy alone. So at least fine. So then he goes out and he gets one of them bounce off the satellite dishes, right? So he has to have it installed. So guess who gets to install it? Me, right? So while I'm doing it, I make sure he has to go to the store for an hour or two. And I dig a 6-inch trench all the way from his place to my place. So I got 120 channels for free off of his satellite dish, right? So, don't you tell my Nazi neighbor, don't you tell my Nazi neighbor, don't you tell my Nazi neighbor I'm a Jew.